Seats Casino, the number one casino in all of Pennsylvania, which just happens to be in my native Bucks County. They have it all, world-class headliners at the Excite Center, the open-air Liberty Bell Beer Garden, the Parks Grill Steakhouse, the Bamboo Noodle House. By the way, which of those is your choice? The Noodle House, the Steakhouse, probably the Beer Garden.
I love that Beer Garden. Oh my gosh, beer or noodles?
Just a few of the outstanding restaurants, action, excitement, live entertainment. It is a destination. It's Parks Casino. Time now for the headlines from Smerconish.com, the newsletter. Yesterday, 9,907 votes cast. Now, you needed to understand why I was talking about this issue. Sometimes you do and sometimes you don't. The reason that I was talking about fragmentation is because of a phenomenal essay in The Atlantic that we learned yesterday from the author, Jonathan Haidt, a sociologist at NYU's Stern School of Business, that this is part of a forthcoming book. He's been writing a book for the last 3 years about the fragmentation of our society. And what he said is that as he's working on the book, he realized, I got to hurry up and get out there on this issue because things are happening so rapidly. And so the survey question yesterday was, can the fragmentation of American society caused by social media in the last decade, can it be reversed? 57.96%, hell, let's call it 58% said, no, it cannot. It's hard to summarize all of his thinking in just a paragraph or a line, but I'll say this. Social scientists, this is a quote, social scientists have identified at least three major forces that collectively bind together successful democracies: social capital, meaning extensive social networks with high levels of trust, strong institutions, and shared stories. And social media, says Jonathan Haidt, have weakened all three. You told me that we had tremendous social media reaction to yesterday's conversation with Jonathan Haidt. By the way, releasing today as my daily podcast, yesterday's conversation with Haidt. Wherever you get your podcasts, please listen to it if you haven't already.
Yeah, so a bit of a pop-up social media report. Granny Ann says, at Smerconish, social media just brought to the brighter light of day what fragments in society have always been there. It's not the cause.
Right, but Scott Galloway would say the pandemic is an accelerant, and in the same way, social media has been an accelerant. In other words, if we didn't look, I've said this so many times. I love the internet. I love technology. I love Waze. I love Open Table. I love all those things that we rely on a day-to-day basis, not the least of which is a search function that enables me to do a radio program I would otherwise never be able to do. I think, of the days when I used to get off the Schuylkill Expressway at 5 a.m. on a Saturday and pray that the daily news had been delivered. I love it. Don't misunderstand me. But there is a huge downside. And one of the downsides is that it allows misinformation and rumor to spread like wildfire. Read the Jonathan Haidt piece. What else, TC, were people saying about
Another
it?
reaction to the actual survey question, Sean says, only with bilateral willingness and with both sides finally re-recognizing the actual value of each other.
I'd like to think that so much attention being heaped on the issue of division, fragmentation, the role of social media, the Obama speech recently at Stanford is causing people to wake up and understand and appreciate, and maybe they'll start changing the channel.
One more, Mikhail says the fragmentation was caused by progressive upheaval of the natural order of things, like family, which is the basic structural unit of society. All social media did was allow for arguing about this destruction.
No, I don't accept that. That may be a factor, but you cannot blame entirely the left or the right for the issue of fragmentation. Okay, today's survey question, love this. Would you be less inclined to vote for a candidate who only recently moved to your state or your district, whatever that district might be, congressional district, state representative district? It's in the news this cycle. Well, again, here in Pennsylvania, as I've been discussing, as I watched, actually, TC, you're the one who said to me that as I watched the Republican Senate debate and sent out a tweet that had a picture of my TV set, that it got a lot of reaction.
It got a huge reaction. What happens is over the week, I start prepping for tomorrow's social media report. And so I start reporting in about what it is that's gotten a bump. That got a huge reaction from people. And interesting to me is not just Pennsylvanians, people from all over the country saying, this is what's going on. Herschel Walker in Georgia, he's actually from Texas.
Nicholas Kristof was kicked off the ballot in Oregon.
And Hillary Clinton years ago.
Robert F. Kennedy.
Right. And Mitt Romney.
Utah,
Belmont. Right.
I never thought about Romney.
I know.
I just naturally, I guess because of Church of the Latter-day Saints, his Mormonism, I just naturally thought that Romney had deep roots in Utah, not really realizing that he moved there to run for the Senate.
Right. It's just so it's so interesting. What happened when you tweeted that was this huge reaction online.
Because 3 of the 5 Senate Republican candidates, pardon me, haven't been in Pennsylvania
and you
all
called
that
it,
long.
You use a great hashtag, political tourism.
So there's a Philadelphia Inquirer story today at Smerconish.com that gives polling data about the PA Senate race. It says that Dr. Oz and Dave McCormick, both of whom subject of the, hey, you haven't been in Pennsylvania recently. McCormick, at least born and raised here. Oz, not at all. But the polling on this question was put about Dr. Oz. Frankly, it should have been asked about Oz, McCormick, and Carla Sands. But here's a little bit of data, TC, that may be a harbinger of what we will get at Smerconish.com. Does the fact that Dr. Oz only recently moved to Pennsylvania bother you a lot, a little, or not at all? 26% said a lot. 25% said a little. If you combine the two, that's like half. 48% said not at all. And I, as you've heard, am wondering if this trend continues, because it seems rather pronounced in this cycle. Is it going to get to be like Major League sports? In other words, like you just really won't care. People move around, players move around. You know, what one day a star is playing for the Lakers and the next day they're playing for the Sixers. You know, James Harden goes from the Brooklyn Nets to the 76ers. And do we say, oh, he's a Brooklyn guy? No. We're like, Harden, the beard. Yeah. I want a beard. I want to look like him. So other political news from the Oklahoman. Who is Sean the Patriots Roberts? The Patriot.
The Patriot.
The Patriot.
The Patriot. That's how he wants to be. He wants to have his name on the ballot be Sean the Patriot. But they say he can't.
He can't. And he's running for, I don't know, labor commissioner, or he is the state. No, he's a candidate for the state labor commissioner. A good ruling in Oklahoma, because imagine where this could lead. If you allow Sean the Patriot Roberts to appear that way, it's going to be like pro wrestling. Everybody, you're going to be George the Animal Steele, Chief J Strongbow, Haystacks Calhoun.
Yeah, but somehow
everyone will have a moniker.
That all makes sense, right? It all kind of
does, right? I mean, imagine what would Trump be? What would Biden be?
The Donald.
The foreign news. This is of concern, to say the least. From USA Today, could have had any number of links that I would append to Smerconish.com, but I went with their coverage. The U.S. has reliable information that Russian military forces executed Ukrainians who were trying to surrender near Donetsk. A U.S. official said yesterday they've got credible reports and photos that individuals were killed execution style with their hands bound, including bodies showing signs of torture and accounts of sexual violence against women and girls. Now, if that causes you to say, that's it, the U.S., NATO have got to be more directly involved on the side of Ukraine, then hold on, because there's also this, which you can read at Smerconish.com today. Vladimir Putin has warned that he will use nuclear weapons against the West if anyone interferes. The threat comes as the Russian leader said the response to counterstrikes will be lightning fast. Speaking to his lawmakers, he said if someone intends to interfere in what is going on from the outside, they must know that constitutes an unacceptable strategic threat to Russia. They must know that our response and counterstrike will be lightning fast. Lightning fast. We all remember Sharon Stone in Basic Instinct, right? Okay, this comes from the Daily Mail in the UK. You know I'm a sucker for all Prime Minister question sessions, all debate in the House of Commons. Listen to this story. Headline, Tories accuse Angela Rayner of basic instinct ploy to distract Boris. MPs claim Labor deputy leader likes to put PM off his stride by crossing and uncrossing her legs at prime minister's questions. You've gotten a look at her, TC?
I have.
We should point out she's fully clothed.
Please. Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
she's fully
very,
clothed.
very important detail in this.
So Glenn...
And that she denies all of this.
Right.
Okay.
So Glenn Owen is the political editor for The Mail on Sunday. Now, this is the piece. This is the piece
From
that
the
sort
Daily
of
Mail.
brought it all to light
Right.
and caused the controversy. All is fair in love, war, and Commons duels with Boris Johnson, if the claims of Tory MPs are to be believed. Conservatives have claimed that Labor Deputy Leader Angela Rayner likes to put Mr. Johnson off his stride in the chamber by crossing and uncrossing her legs when they clash at Prime Minister's questions. The exchanges between Ms. Rayner and Mr. Johnson, which take place when Leader Sir Keir Starmer is absent, have become a highlight of the Commons calendar, pitching the comprehensive, school-educated Labor MP against the old Etonian. Do we have audio of how some of this has sounded?
Yes.
What are we about to hear?
So we're about to hear Boris Johnson with the with
aforementioned
going back and forth, just their banter, if you will. And you can picture it. Anyone who knows how the UK does this, there's that long table in between,
right,
and then the two gold podiums, and they literally stand up across from one another, and they're looking right at each other as they're going back and forth.
When you pulled the audio, did you take note of whether she was crossing and uncrossing her legs to distraction?
I do not believe she was in this.
Aha.
Okay, here we go.
Will the Prime Minister do to get a grip of this?
Mr. Speaker, I know that it is great to be here with the Right Honourable Lady, the Shadow Secretary of State, for the future of work. We know the future of the job that she has in mind. But I wish her well. I wish her well.
I've heard on the grapevine there might be a vacancy for Prime Minister soon, so maybe I should have aspirations. The Prime Minister pretends it's not his fault. He blames the global forces. He blames the market.
More of the coverage from the Daily Mail on this. It is suggested that Ms. Rayner also employs the tactic when sitting next to Sir Keir when he faces Mr. Johnson at Prime Minister questions. One MP said she knows she can't compete with Boris's Oxford Union debate training.
Oh, snobby.
But she has other skills which he lacks.
Oh, please.
She has admitted as much when enjoying drinks with us on the Commons terrace.
No, I'm for her.
Last night, a spokesman for Ms. Rayner, described the allegation as categorically untrue.
Yes.
Ms. Rayner is 41. She's a socialist grandmother who left school at 16 while pregnant and with no qualifications before becoming a care worker, has frequently landed blows on the Prime Minister during sparky, some say flirty, exchanges.
So can I suggest to the Prime Minister, it's not about brushing your hair, it's about brushing up on your act.
Yeah.
Thought you would like that line.
Oh my God, I love it. Okay, in the vein of public speaking and humor, this was almost the survey question today. I almost asked whether, and I might do it tomorrow. The White House Correspondent Association dinner returns Saturday night, right? This is, the so-called nerd prom. I've been there when I was there at the Washington. Am I right? Sadly, it's the hotel where Ronald Reagan was shot coming out the back door. But the ballroom is one of the largest indoor spaces that I've ever been in. I think it's like a 2,000 person event in normal times. Just yesterday, I was having the conversation with Mark Halpern about the nerd prom and whether the president should go because he's planning to go this year. But of course, after the gridiron dinner with many fewer people gathered together of Washington's intelligentsia, a lot of them got COVID. So people are saying, wait a minute, why would President Biden at age 79 go to the nerd prom and subject himself to the risk of getting COVID at a time when Kamala Harris has COVID? And I said to Mark yesterday, what occurs to me, having attended one or two of those events, is that it's a long night. And it's also, I know this as a speaker, it's a tough drill. TC, if I'm speaking at an event and the event is a dinner event, I never like sitting there for the dinner.
In other words, does that mean you sit there for the dinner and then you speak after the dinner or during the dinner?
After.
Yeah, that's
so, and I know in my
untenable.
own experience, it's exhausting because I'm trying to make small talk, right?
Your favorite thing.
and you get nervous,
Yeah.
and you're off your game. And I would rather be backstage in a green room with silence.
Right.
So it has occurred to me, sitting there, in my case, watching President Obama, like what an ass pain this is for him to have to sit through the whole dinner and then deliver remarks. And I'm trying to think of the order because there's usually a headliner. In this case, it's Trevor Noah. I'm trying to think, does the president go after the comedian or before? It hardly matters. It's a long night.
It's a long night.
I said to Mark yesterday, why would he sit there for the whole night? Apparently he's not going to.
Yeah.
So apparently the plan is that he'll come in after dinner, which is smart in any instance.
You're
right?
like, why? Yeah.
This is what they should always be doing. So he'll come in after dinner, but still the idea, he's going to wear a mask. He's not going to go to the eating portion. 2,600 attendees in normal times are there, and he is intending to go. I'm not sure that it's the right call.
I wonder if I don't know the answer to this. Is there a vaccine requirement or
I'm sure there
some
is
kind of thing? Yeah.
I'm sure there is. And I don't know how he'll do in that environment. I mean, the best way to be in that environment is self-deprecating.
True.
And the gold standard was the night.
Yeah.
It was the night.
So
well,
funny.
Tomorrow, can we play the audio?
Of course.
It was the night that Obama lampooned Trump. Speaking of which, read the Mark Leibovich Atlantic essay where he says, hey, if you want to do in Donald Trump, you got to regard him as a loser. Quote, I caught up recently with several Trump-opposing Republican strategists and former associates of the president who argued this restraint should end. The best way for a Republican to depose Trump in 2024, they said, will be to call him a loser as early and brutally as possible and keep pointing out the absurdity of treating a one-term, twice-impeached, 75-year-old former president like a kingmaker and heir apparent. Remind people that he lost. Remind people that he was impeached on 2 occasions. Label him with the big L word. Also of interest today, coverage at Smerconish.com. Do you remember that President Trump cut a deal for a new Air Force One? The head of Boeing, the CEO, David Calhoun, is now kind of saying he regrets the deal that they struck. Boeing made the deal. He called it, by the way, a very unique set of risks that Boeing probably shouldn't have taken. Do you remember when Trump, I think with one of his Sharpies, cancel order? Well, apparently it's a $3.9 billion price tag. They've encountered more recently higher costs than they had planned. It threatens now the delivery of not one, but 2 747 jets that are due to come online 2026. Will Donald Trump ever fly in one of those new Air Force Ones in 2026? That, of course, remains to be seen. Starbucks is unionized now for the first time in Minnesota. You'll want to read that story as well. Johnny Depp, I guess I'm running out of time, but did you follow anything from Johnny Depp's trial yesterday with Amber Heard?
What was going on? He was doodling. There was
a doorman.
The doorman was vaping in the car.
The doorman,
a
deposition of the doorman of their building. This is the insanity of this trial now. And Johnny Depp was laughing.
I know, but it's gone off the rails.
The doorman says something like, everybody's got problems. He's vaping. He's in a car, and they're playing the testimony, and that the judge says that was a first. I've seen a lot of things, but I've never seen that before.
Yeah.
I may have to go whole hog into covering this trial.
You keep saying
I've avoided it up until now.
You're really skirting along, though. You're really kind of getting us involved.
Have we convinced everybody there are great headlines today?
There are such good headlines.
Smerconish.com.
And speaking of which, we've only scratched the surface.
It's true. It is true. We can never get through all 20 of the aggregated links, but it's good stuff. All right. Thank you for subscribing to Smerconish.com, the newsletter, and watch the presentation of the headlines each and every day on my YouTube channel.